things that can and do go wrong with digestion, as we're going to see, that leads into chronic health issues. So let's look at how some of those things can and do go wrong. So we have a flow chart here, and I love flow charts. It starts out with impaired digestion. What does that mean? It means that you're not breaking down, by that I mean into usable nutrients, your proteins, your starches, or your fats. That undigested food passing through your intestinal tract interacts with something called that bacteria I spoke about earlier, and creates an imbalance of this good to bad gut bacteria. That leads into too many intestinal toxins, which creates an inflammation in the digestive tract and a condition called leaky gut. And once we have this condition called leaky gut, we have an influx of toxins in our system, and that's what can create chronic health problems. How many of you in the audience have had or have heartburn, reflux, or pain after eating? 90% of the time you have this feeling because you have too little stomach acid. Well, I can see the surprise on your face, because if you watch television today, the media would have you think we're all walking around dripping in acid. When really, what we know is that as we age, and I'm just talking about the aging process, we actually decrease in the amount of acid that we produce, as we can see here on the chart. 60% of the people over the age of 50 have too little acid. So what do you see from that chart is we are actually declining in the amount of acid that we produce as we age. So statistics show that older people are more likely to have heartburn as they get older. So the question is, why does too little acid make me feel bad? Well, contrary to popular belief, you need stomach acid. It triggers or signals the tightening of the sphincter so that as you churn the contents of your stomach with digestion, you don't reflux the contents of your stomach into the esophagus. It's your natural antibiotic, so it sterilizes your food or water or anything coming into your system so that it doesn't enter into your intestinal tract. Critical for protein digestion and aids in your absorption of vitamins and minerals. That was in the healthy system and what we need it for. Well, do you know what happens when you don't have enough? You no longer have that signal to the lower esophageal sphincter to tighten. So as the stomach is churning its contents, you can reflux your stomach contents into the esophagus and cause irritation and inflammation. You become susceptible to bacterial infection. The other thing is, you don't digest your proteins very well when you don't have enough acid. What would that mean to you? Brittle fingernails and thinning hair? It also means that that undigested protein becomes a toxin to you as it passes through your intestinal tract undigested, and it creates intestinal toxemia. You do not digest minerals. Remember I said calcium and zinc? Well, what's that good for? Bone health and immunity. Also, B12, energy, anemia, neuropathy, irritability, depression, memory problems, and increased risk of heart attack and stroke. So when you do not have enough acid in your stomach, then you have what we would call more of an alkaline stomach. So when your stomach is alkaline, you can have heartburn and gas and bloating because your food ferments and it's not digesting. I was doing a training video one day, and there was a man editing the video, and he says, you know, I've been taking antacids for a long period of time, and you know, maybe I don't have enough acid. And I said, well, what would give you heartburn? And he said, pepperoni pizza. Okay, then let's order a pepperoni pizza and see what happens. So he orders the pepperoni pizza, and he begins to take the digestive enzymes I gave him, one with hydrochloric acid and enzymes in it. So I go on about my business, and I come back an hour later, and I said, how are you feeling? And he said, you know what? I feel great. And if I hadn't taken medication, I would be on the floor right now in pain after eating that pizza. When you take antacids ongoing or acid-blocking medication, because remember, these are only for short periods of usage, not forever, then what you do is you worsen the problem because you're continually creating an out-of-balance stomach with not enough acid, and as you have seen, next thing that can happen is we can develop, as a result of this starch that's fermenting in our digestive tract, we can develop something called yeast overgrowth. We also call it candida. Do you know about 100 million people in this country have yeast overgrowth, and it causes a lot of problems for them? Fatigue, gas and bloating, skin problems. What happens when you do not digest fats? Say you're not producing enough of the lipase enzyme from your pancreas or bile salt from your liver gallbladder. You can have something called a malabsorption of your essential fatty acids. And this, folks, affects the cardiovascular system, the reproductive system, the endocrine system, the immune system, and the nervous system. Now, what would you feel from that? What would you experience from having that malabsorption? Dry skin? Dry nails, dry hair, high cholesterol. So how do you stop this process from occurring is you begin to do a very important thing. You begin to take digestive enzymes with your meals because that's the first step in breaking down the food you're putting into your mouth into usable nutrients instead of producing a toxin. Now, there's other reasons that we might not be digesting our foods very well. One is that dreaded word called stress. And we all know that word very well. And I'll tell you what happens to us when we are under stress eating. Do you know what happens? We just swallow the food down whole, drink it down with a lot of liquid, and we never even start the process of digestion in our mouth. I did this therapy one time called gentle eating. Our task was to take a fork full of food and put the fork down on the plate and not touch it again until we had chewed the food and it was out of our mouth and we had swallowed it, and then we could pick the fork up again. That was very difficult. It really was. Now, a big one that can create impaired digestion is food sensitivity. We all have foods that we're sensitive to. It's genetic. So what happens is we like the foods we're sensitive to. We don't want to eat them once in a while. They're usually wheat, corn, dairy, and sugar. We want to eat them every day. And the problem with the sensitivity is you don't react to the food immediately that you can tell. You can have a reaction up to 36 hours after ingesting the food with the joint pain or the headache. So you don't relate it. You're not relating it back to what you're eating. So this goes on and on and on. And this is what creates an inflammation in the digestive tract also that can create this leaky gut condition we're going to talk about. And I'll give you an example of it. A man comes into the clinic and he has dermatitis from his fingertips to his elbows. And I said to him, how long have you been working with flour? And he went, how did did you know that? And I said, well, because that's what happens to people who work with flour that are sensitive to it. Usually in about 10 years, they develop a dermatitis externally. The inside of your body can do the same thing. You can develop an internal dermatitis whenever you're constantly putting your intestinal tract in contact with something it's sensitive to and creates an inflammation. We want next to talk about this bacteria. Remember the bacteria, the brick? We usually call this bacteria the good bacteria. We call it Acidophilus or bifidus. That's what the good bacteria is. And what does good bacteria mean? It means it's symbiotic. It lives in harmony with your system. It helps you digest your foods. And it also helps in the absorption of your foods. It aids in the production of B vitamins. How important is that? It also competes with what we call the bad guys or the negative bacteria for food and space. So if you're healthy, it stays in the proper ratio and controls the environment. Now, the other side of the coin is the bad guys, and we all have some, like E. coli, or we have something called Citrobacter. We see that in a lot of people. And they are pathogenic bacteria. And if they're in small amounts inside your body, you're really healthy because the good guys control the environment. But if you give those guys a chance, they will create an unhealthy immune system and also an unhealthy body. Now, your ratio of good to bad bacteria should be 80% of what we call the good guys, which is the Acidophilus or the bifidus, and 20% of the negative bacteria. The problem occurs when this bacteria balance becomes unbalanced and takes over. And why does it do that? Well, what have we been talking about? Undigested food. Undigested foods like protein, starches, and fats create part of the cycle that the bad bacteria begin to use to proliferate and take over the environment. Too many antibiotics, like what happened to me. Okay? Too many over-the-counter self-medicating substances. These irritate the lining of your digestive tract. And the last one, which is the big one, a bad diet with too much sugar. Now, when you have this imbalance of good to bad bacteria, and we have too many digestive toxins as a result of this undigested food, we begin to experience a symptom. The symptom is gas and bloating and pain, and then down the road it's irritable bowel syndrome, and then in some people down the road it's inflammatory bowel disease. We have more and more vitamin B deficiencies. That creates low energy. We have a weakened immune system with more and more chronic infections. And we get that dreaded word called constipated. We want to look at what constipation really looks like in the body. So what we have here is a picture. What has happened in this individual is that the contents of their colon has backed up from not having good colon elimination, and so now you have a toxic bowel movement in their ascending colon, which should be liquid contents. And that sets the system up for toxicity and chronic health problems. Because you see, attached to your digestive tract and your colon and large intestine, you have a circulatory system. And so we have something that can happen here called autointoxication or self-poisoning. As the contents stay in the colon too long, it begins to create a toxic body. Now, why would someone have chronic constipation? And there's many reasons for it. But it really goes back to how well do they digest their protein, starches, and fats. So, when there is this constipation or backed up intestinal tract and many of the things we've been talking about, like food sensitivities and low hydrochloric acid, we create an inflammation in the digestive tract that results in this condition we call leaky gut. If you look, that would be considered the healthy digestive tract. And what you're seeing there is you're seeing the mucosal lining of the small intestine. Now what that means is these dots are digested, that's the key word here, protein, starches, and fats. So these dots, your gatekeeper says, you can enter the bloodstream as nutrients for your body. And that is healthy because the mucosal lining is intact. But due to a lot of what I've been speaking about today, poor diet, too many drugs, stress, not digesting our foods, this mucosal lining just erodes away. And you know what? You've got everything passing through your digestive tract has the potential to enter your bloodstream. What happens as a result of that? Well, if you're predisposed to autoimmune problems, you're going to develop an autoimmune response. And eventually, you could develop something like lupus, or asthma, or Crohn's disease. But what happens to a lot of people is they develop something called inflammation. Where will this inflammation show up in you? This inflammation can be arthritis, colitis, vasculitis, or fibromyalgia. The good news, it can be fixed, and the HOPE formula can help it. And when we come back, I am going to explain to you step by step what you should eat, what you should never eat, and what your body must have for proper health. And the journal, Petition of the
Thank you gifts that are available tonight. So quickly, what are we going to learn about in the next section?
The next section, I'll give you an example. Went to the lab, had a test, and his cholesterol came back very high. Actually, it was over 500. So off we went to the doctor, and she was like, you need to be on a cholesterol-lowering drug now. And I said, well, let's talk about that. Could we take 30 days and just see what we could do with diet and supplementation? How does that sound? And she was very open to it. She said, you know what, do it. Let's see what you can do. We started him on a high-fiber diet with fiber supplementation. Well, 30 days later, we're back in the doctor's office, and the cholesterol was just over 200. And she was just thrilled that we had been able to do this naturally. So I want to show you today what 35 grams of fiber looks like. Here's what 35 grams of fiber looks like in fruits and vegetables every day. Now, I don't know about you, but this is a lot of food to consume every day to get 35 grams of fiber. And I want to suggest here that you start reading labels, because the fiber content is on the label of anything you purchase in a food store. You can eat a whole loaf of white bread and you do not get 1 gram of fiber. But if you choose a whole grain bread, you're going to get approximately 3 grams of fiber in a whole grain bread. And the same goes with your food choices. You can choose a high fiber meal or a low fiber meal, and that's all part of what you choose every day. For example, bacon and eggs, not a bit of fiber. But you could choose to have the oatmeal, which gives you 8 grams, or you could put a slice of whole grain bread with it, which you would get about 3 grams of fiber. The same with choosing a salad. Iceberg lettuce, the whole head gives you 2 grams of fiber. So that's not very good. But spinach, on the other hand, is a high fiber green, and you get 10 grams of fiber in a spinach salad. So that's a big difference. This can be difficult to achieve every day for most of us. So therefore, we do recommend that you begin to think about supplementing. And this is important to choose a good fiber supplement. So, what would you choose? I would choose something like organic, flax, oat bran, and acacia fiber. Also, most people take psyllium fibers. And I want to say psyllium is okay for some people, but for a lot of people, psyllium can create more constipation and gas and bloating than it helps. So psyllium is not necessarily a good choice for all people. Flax, acacia, and oat bran is a much better choice. Always choose organic whenever you can. If you have problems with regularity, or if you've had an irregular colonoscopy, or if you have high cholesterol, you need to pay special attention to this, the 35 grams of fiber. Plants. Your omega-3 oils are the most studied nutrient in the world. You know, we are consistently being taught that fats are bad for us. Yet there are thousands of studies worldwide that show us that we don't only need fats, or the good fats, but they're essential for life, therefore essential fatty acids. Now, there have been several studies and observations of the Eskimo population because their diet consists of high protein and high fat. Yet they have the lowest incidence of coronary heart disease in the world. Do you know what they get every day from fish? 14 grams of omega-3 oils. That's what they consume a day. Now, your good omega-3 oils have many health benefits. Again, they help protect your cardiovascular system. They're necessary for proper digestive health. They help lower cholesterol. And if you have inflammation anywhere in your body, your essential fatty acids, your omega-3 oils will help reduce that inflammation. And the best, they're vital for brain health. And who doesn't want better brain health, right? The World Health Organization has recently issued a recommendation that we get 2 grams of omega-3 oils daily. Do you know what the average American gets in omega-3 oils every day? 0.2 grams. 0.2 grams. Your best choice for the omega-3 oils is salmon. All salmon isn't the same. And this is where you have to do a little bit of asking questions, especially to your grocer, because the best salmon is wild salmon. It's the highest in omega-3 oils versus farm-raised. So there's a big difference in the amount of omega-3 oils in your salmon that is wild. And there's a concern about that because the high mercury content that there is in fish today. So the omega-3 oils should be supplemented in your diet every day because we are not eating salmon every day. So we have high fiber, which is 35 grams of fiber a day, and the omega-3 oils is 2 grams of oils a day. Now, for those of you who have cardiovascular problems or any type of inflammation or high cholesterol, you should pay special attention to supplementing with your omega-3 oils every day. The P in the HOPE formula stands for the probiotic. Remember the brick? The good bacteria? There are numerous studies on the benefits of the good bacteria. What does it do for us? Well, it lowers the incidence of pathogenic infection in our intestinal tract. It helps stimulate a healthy immune system. Remember, it aids in our digestion and also in our production of B vitamins. It helps to detoxify the digestive tract. Historically, how do we get the good bacteria in our diet? If you look at the cultures around the world, well, I actually was raised in the South, and I bet you couldn't tell that, could you? Every summer, my father grew cabbages and cucumbers, and from that we made sauerkraut and pickles. And we had that in our diet all the time throughout the week. We just had a little bit of sauerkraut with our meals. And that put that good bacteria in our digestive tract that creates a healthy immune system. Now, in other cultures, they do it differently. They have different things. In the Asian cultures, they have miso, and that's a fermented product that they eat with their meals. In some cultures, they have yogurt. But again, I want you to pay special attention to this. Not yogurt with sugar in it. So just plain. So you want to look for supplementation. What type of probiotic supplementation is good for you? Well, if you're looking at it for maintenance, just a daily maintenance, look for a supplement that has 5 to 6 billion cultures in each tablet or capsule. 5 to 6 billion cultures. Another good thing to look for, and this is important, is a delivery system. What do I mean by a delivery system? It means that the capsule or the tablet is enteric coated, and what that means is it bypasses the acid of the stomach, delivers the good bacteria directly in your intestinal tract where you need it. A lot of times this good bacteria could be killed in the stomach with acid, but you need this in your intestinal tract. The E in the HOPE formula is enzymes. What are enzymes? Enzymes are protein-based substances that are found in the cells of all living things. Enzymes are essential for every single function in our body. Most enzymes are catabolic, and all that means is it breaks larger substances into simpler substances. Digestive enzymes are what we use to break our foods down, and that's what we've been talking about today, is the importance of digestive enzymes. As we age, we greatly reduce the amount of digestive enzymes that we have available for the digestion of our foods. And that's where it becomes a problem, and we start to develop this toxicity from undigested food. In addition to that, we do not eat enough live foods. And what do we do to our foods? Well, we process them. We cook them or blanch them. We irradiate them. We process our grains. So guess what? There's not any enzymes left in a lot of the things that we are eating. So we're depending on our digestive system to produce the digestive enzymes that we need. So we need this protease for protein digestion, amylase for starch digestion, and lipase for fat digestion. If you have symptoms like gas and bloating or heartburn, you need to pay special attention to your digestive system, because this can lead to that fermentation and leaky gut conditions that we've been speaking about. So, all living foods like fruits and vegetables have enzymes in them. So this is important to know. But packaged foods do not have enzymes. So getting raw foods in your diet every single day is very, very important. Look at these two meals. Hamburger and French fries. You do not have one enzyme in that meal. Okay? You need your own body in order to break this down. On this side, though, we have what? We have some coleslaw with it. So we're putting part of the meal is raw. So what that means is it lessens the load on our system to produce the enzymes. So what do we look for in terms of supplementation? Because I've been talking about that a lot today, is how our system becomes out of balance due to the indigestion of protein, starches, and fats, and how as we age, we do decrease in the amount that we have available for digestion. So what we need to look for in a supplement is a digestive enzyme protease for protein digestion amylase for starch digestion, and lipase for fat digestion. And you see this in a supplement in the store. So you take this with your meals. And then you're not taking something away from your body. You are assisting your body in digesting food for nutrients. So down the road, you have less toxicity and you have nutrients available so that you can have good health. If you have any type of digestive problem like gas and bloating and heartburn or acid reflux, this digestive enzyme supplement is especially important for you. So we have the HOPE formula, which is the foundation for ultimate health. You have the high fiber, 35 grams of fiber a day. You have the O in 2 grams of omega-3 oils. You have 5 to 6 billion cultures of your probiotics. And you have the E is your living foods and digestive enzymes every day. There are many things that you should do every day in your health and in your eating habits, but you know what? We don't always do them because a lot of times it's difficult. So I say we strive for it. We try to do it every day, and we do the very best that we can. And that's why when you're looking at this, it's really important that we choose some supplementation, especially as we get older. Now, I said something to you. I said I was going to tell you what you should never eat. But you know what? There's nothing you should never eat. There's things that you shouldn't eat all the time. And I think that's common sense. We know sugar's not good to eat all the time, but we shouldn't feel deprived either. It's not what you do once in a while, it's what you do every day that counts. So having something once in a while is okay. Remember where we started? On the health continuum, you're either moving towards vibrant health or you're moving towards chronic health problems. And many of you do not get enough of the HOPE program of high fiber and oils and probiotics and enzymes in your life. So you are living without hope. You are moving towards a poor diet, symptoms, and an unhealthy life, and eventually chronic disease. So where are you now? Ask yourself that question. Because no matter where you are, hope will help you. I feel so much better, and I know that I do everything I can every day to ensure that I have energy, that I can be healthy, that I can live a long, healthy life. Hope is the most simple, logical, and beneficial thing that you can do to ensure a long, vibrant, disease-free life that you deserve. Thank you.